What's up, everybody? My name is Russ. I'm here to talk to you today. Well, first, to illustrate that I really need a haircut, but I'm also here to talk to you about a scenario that you're going to find in your job search, especially as you progress sort of through the ranks in your career. That actually, really, everybody is going to face at some point or another, and that's the scenario of being interviewed by somebody who's much more junior than you. You know, maybe you've got 10 years of experience, and this person has two or three, and it's a very delicate scenario that you can either really knock out of the park or actually really crumble before, depending on a couple of things. And I want to talk to you today about how you can best navigate those scenarios well and set yourself up for success. And actually, sort of the first thing that I think many of us go through is like, why? It's like, why are they having this really junior person interview me? What I'm here to tell you, folks, is it's usually because of needs. Like if you are being interviewed by someone who's really junior, it's usually because that's the expert that they have in that world. Maybe it's engineering, or maybe it's even recruiting or something else. And they're using that person to interview you because they need a competency, they need to evaluate a competency, and that's the expert that they have. So give the company the benefit of the doubt. Don't be assuming that they don't have their ducks in a row because they've got this junior person interviewing you. It's usually because of needs. And let's jump into some of the things that I think you should be aware of and maybe be thinking about when you go into these scenarios. And number one actually is that your ego is on display. When you're being interviewed by someone who's much more junior than you, it's, perhaps depending on your or somebody's personality, it's pretty easy to go into that scenario being dismissive or lashing out, sort of thinking that this is something you can kind of breeze through or not put in a lot of efforts. Or you can do the opposite. You can treat that person with a ton of respect. I personally have been interviewed by lots of junior people in the past, and I go into those scenarios treating them the exact same way I would treat the CEO. I'm not sort of docking them for their lack of experience, and I'm working really hard to just build relationships and treat them exactly the way I would treat a business leader or a department head or a VP. And I also go into it understanding that that person is very likely aware of that imbalance. It's not easy to be that sort of couple years into your career person and then being asked by your company or your leader to go interview these people that for sure have a lot more experience than you. That's difficult. I remember when I was working at Ultrix, I probably had about 4 years of experience total, and we were recruiting for another recruiter, and I interviewed this lady who clearly had many, many, many more years of experience than me. And, I was just trying to handle it as best I could. And I asked her a tough question. I can't remember the question. And she looked at me and she said, "Russell, I've been recruiting since before you were born." And, and of course, that stuck with me. We did not hire her. I did not want to move her forward. And, it was just like such a bad way to go into that scenario. So don't be that person. Treat everyone with respect, regardless of how much experience they have. Another really great trick to shine in those scenarios is actually to pull a rabbit out of a hat. If you're doing a technical interview, maybe you can do a particular trick that maybe that person isn't aware of. For me, it's like there's a couple of things that I try to pull out. It's like maybe I'll talk about the importance of a soft close conversation, how to structure a soft close conversation, or a sourcing trick that maybe that junior person has never seen in their career before. Something that is like exhibiting a higher level of skill or mastery that that person probably just hasn't been around long enough to see, and something that they're going away thinking, wow, that's a really cool thing, we should definitely move this person forward. And the last thing that I think will really help you shine is to model mentor behavior. If you're being interviewed by this junior person, chances are you're going to turn around and work with that person. It's very likely that maybe if you do get to work with them, you'll have the opportunity to mentor and upskill that person, and this is your opportunity to make them really excited about the idea of just working with you. And if they're like, man, wow, I could really learn a thing or two from this candidate, they're going to turn around and be your champion through the rest of the process. So model mentor behavior is the last one. And then, like I said, pull a rabbit out of the hat, exhibit high-level skill, and make sure your ego is in check because it is very much in display in these scenarios. That is it. That's all I've got. Tell me if this content helps you. If you don't like it, tell me, light me up. I don't care. And I'm going to go get a haircut. All right. Bye-bye.